Ravens signed Kyle Van Noy, and some big names are back at practice. Let's talk about it. Before we get into this video, shout out to the Braves. My Braves, Ronald Acuna, 40-70 season, hit it. Also, shout out to the Orioles. I know a lot of people here are Orioles fans, obviously, being a Baltimore Ravens YouTube page. So, shout out to the Orioles. It looks like they're going to maybe be the number one team in the AL. I know they clinched the AL. I believe they've clinched the AL West or AL East. So, pretty cool for them. One of the best teams in the MLB. Very excited to watch them in the postseason. But jumping into it, let's talk about Kyle Van Noy first, and then we'll get into the players returning to practice. But if you don't know, Kyle Van Noy, known as being a Patriot, was signed by the Ravens this week, and I think it's a really good signing. I talked about Kyle Van Noy in the offseason as a guy who, if the Ravens want to go after a veteran that can help produce and in all facets, he can produce as an outside linebacker, he can produce as a, just a pass coverage linebacker. He's done it all in his career, and he's been relatively successful there. Obviously, mostly known for being a Patriot, started out in Detroit, but Patriot from 2016 until 2019, went to Miami, went back to New England, went to the Chargers last year, and when he was in New England, he played middle linebacker, he played right back linebacker, he played left linebacker, or left side linebacker. That's all the PFF has it listed as. It doesn't say Mike, Sam, Will, that sort of thing. But, he put up 5.5 sacks, 3.5 sacks, 6.5 sacks, 6 sacks, 5 sacks over the last few years. He's been consistent. Most important thing, this is what I want to look at right here. Games played. 17, 16, 14, 15, 16, 13. This guy's on the field. He's on the field, and he plays well when he is on the field. And he's not coming into a role where we're looking at him and saying, hey, we need you to put up 10 sacks. That's not what we signed him for. He's a veteran leader that can play across the board at linebacker and can help give Adafe, Ojabo, Clowney, Bowser, even Patrick Queen maybe in certain spots, a little bit of a breather. And, with how the Ravens injuries have gone, I think it's a really good signing. I've talked about Kyle Van Noy plenty of times on here, but I did want to acknowledge that. I think he's a really solid player. He's 32 years old. Obviously not a, world-breaking signing, but I think it's going to be really solid. And this is one of the better signings I think the Ravens have had of the last couple of years mid-season when it comes to players that would be able to contribute. I really like this Kyle Van Noy signing. I think we'll see him a little bit each and every week. This is not a signing that I think we'll see and then never hear of again. I think we will see Kyle Van Noy out on the field consistently. Now to the fun stuff. Fun stuff is the injury stuff. Ravens practice report is out, and we had some big players return. First off, Justice Hill. I talked about it. I think Justice Hill is probably the most important running back for the Baltimore Ravens to have in the Todd Monken system. I think Gus Edwards is probably a better back, but I think Justice Hill is what makes this offense go. Because when we check down to the running back and we're checking to Gus or Melvin or Drake, they're slow. And there were so many plays against, our opponent last week that I don't even want to talk about because it was so awful in the Indianapolis Colts. But we just kept getting caught from behind. Justice Hill wouldn't get caught from behind like that. Now, obviously, he's not the fastest player in the world, but significantly faster than what we have, and he is known as a speed back. But we see Kenyon Drake fumble, caught from behind. We see Melvin Gordon, towards the end of the game, catch a check down pass and get caught from behind by, I can't remember if it was an edge rusher or a defensive lineman or just a linebacker that was far away, gets caught, could have picked up another 10, 15 more yards, gotten out of bounds. Ravens are in a better spot. Justice Hill is the pass catching back on this team, and he's the explosive back on this team as well. I really want to see him out there this week, and having him back is huge because we don't want to have to see Melvin Gordon on the field. We don't want to have to see Kenyon Drake on the field. Do I like that they're in the building? Yes. But that doesn't mean you want to see your backups. Justice Hill's huge to have back coming out of that foot injury. Next up, the offensive lineman. Tyler Linderbaum and Ronnie Stanley. Linderbaum with the ankle, Ronnie Stanley with the knee. Both came back. Were limited in practice today. That's huge. Those are our two best offensive linemen that we have. We could tell last week. Sam Mustipher, I know we got a really good pass block grade and run block grade, but you know what he didn't do? He didn't snap the ball to Lamar Jackson on a third down. That's not a problem Tyler Linderbaum has had, knocking on wood, throughout his career. That's a huge play in the game. And then obviously the blind side was getting kind of torn to pieces by the Indianapolis Colts, who, to be fair, they have a really good defensive line with Kwity Paye and Buck and all those guys. So, I want to give credit where credit is due, but at the same time, we were missing them, and we're going up against Myles Garrett this week, who is one of the top 5 pass rushers in the NFL. This is a dominant defense that we are going to try and face. And if we are missing, Justice Hill or Ronnie Stanley or Tyler Linderbaum, and Gus Edwards was practicing in full, missing any of those guys, it's going to hurt. Guys we don't have back yet, Rashad Bateman, Odell. That's tough. But Marcus Williams also, he returned to practice earlier in the week, but he was a full participant. Would love to see him out there. Again, when we talked about these injuries that were coming up, I think a lot of people were complaining about the Ravens' injuries. And they're like, every year. I felt like this year was different because it was like, yeah, the Ravens were getting hurt, but it wasn't season-ending injuries. It was like, ticky-tacky. I twisted my ankle. I'm not going to be able to play this week, right? Light concussion or, banged up knee or a little bit of tightness. It's like, we're going to have to miss a week. And that's fine. It's the big injuries that we want to avoid. We're going to get these guys back soon. It might not be this week, but we're going to get them back soon. Hopefully we get Marlon Humphrey because there's some rumors out there. Nothing's confirmed. He hasn't practiced yet, but there's some rumors out there that he might be coming back this week or at least soon. So huge news for the Baltimore Ravens this week. Let me know in the comment section down below your guys' thoughts and opinions. If you guys have any baseball predictions, talk about that as well. Huge game tonight in the NFC North. Packers-Lions. I think I'm rooting for the Packers in this one, but thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for more content. I'll see all of you again tomorrow.